Good evening. This special board meeting of the Socorro ISD Board of Trustees will come to order. The date is Thursday, March 6, 2025. The time is 5:30, and we have a confirmed quorum. Thank you for joining us for this meeting, both in person and online via our YouTube stream. The full recording of the meeting will be available on YouTube and archived through the board website, where viewers have the option of watching the meeting with closed captions translated in multiple languages. Gracias por acompañarnos en esta reunión tanto en persona como en línea a través de nuestra transmisión de YouTube. La grabación completa de la reunión estará disponible en YouTube y se archivará a través del sitio web de la Junta, donde los espectadores tienen la opción de ver la reunión con subtítulos traducidos a varios idiomas. All right, let's go ahead. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, continuing with our agenda, we go to public comment. Each person who signed up was provided a copy of the Open Forum Basic Rules and advised when they signed up that policy BED applies to the process. As a reminder, you're allowed 3 minutes. Please respect the process during your presentation. We will proceed to open forum. Our first speaker is Tommy Hill.
Hello, and thank you for having this meeting, President Michael Nahara and members of the board. Okay, so when you guys said that we were going to do cuts, the number was possibly 300 people who would be losing their jobs. But we should stick with that number. If we're only doing 100, it's not everybody who's going to get this money going out. Plus, it's going to stop them from what I hear, and I'm not 100% sure on this, they say it's going to stop them from getting unemployment. So 100 people would be 250,000. 300 people would be 750,000. You're not going to have to pay any of these people benefits. Plus, I mean, as we've seen in the last board member, it's going to, these people losing their job is creating great harm to their family. Maybe if we put it up to 300, more people will come through and take the deal, and then you might not have to cut so many people that are going to be hurt by this. So please think about that as you guys are making this decision. And you're not going to have to pay their benefits next year. So I mean, you can weigh that out. The district is over $460 million budget, and this is in the thousands. So please think that out and weigh that in when you guys make this decision. I think the number should be 300. Thank you very much.
Continuing with our agenda, new business, consider approval of notice of separation incentive for the 2024-2025 school year. Stiles.
Good evening, Board President Nahara, members of the board, Superintendent Mr. Vasquez. I'm Selena Stiles, Interim Chief Human Resources Officer for the district. And this evening, I'm here to ask for your approval for an early separation incentive notice. The incentive amount is $2,500 for the first 100 qualified employees that notify the Department of Human Resources on or before 5 p.m. on Monday, April 7th, 2025. Eligibility for the incentive is as follows. Employees that are employed under a probationary term or non-certified contract, employees that hold the proper certifications and credentials for their position, employees that were already planning to separate with the district, employees that are located at a campus, and employees that are currently not under investigation with the district or proposed for non-renewal. The procedures will be as follows. The employee will have notified the Department of Human Resources on or before 5 p.m. on Monday, April 7th, 2025, of their decision to separate with the district at the end of their contract. The employee's resignation must be voluntary, unconditional, and effective on the employee's last duty day for the 24-25 school year. Employees must fill out the form applying for the incentive, and this would apply for those that may have already given notice to the district of their plans to separate at the end of the year. They would just need to fill out the form. And that's a copy of what the form would look like. So they would submit their resignation notice along with that form. Any questions?
Good evening, Board President Nahara, members of the board, Superintendent Vasquez. As previously mentioned by Mr. Hill, this incentive for the first 100 would amount to, once we gross up for taxes and everything, it would be about $256,000. Just to put that in perspective. And the reason we landed on 100, not to say that we couldn't go up, is that in previous years when a similar incentive was provided, I believe it was a 75, for 75, up to 75 employees, and at that time we've never reached the 75. So we figured we'll go to 100, and then we could provide you all with a progress report at the next board meeting, and then we could also consider maybe increasing that number. But right now, that's the reason we selected to go with 100, because in previous years, we had offered it at 75, and we never reached the 75. Additionally, in previous years, it's my understanding that the incentive was offered at between 500 to 750. So we felt that increasing it to this amount was a good starting point, or a good point to be at.
Anything more?
No, that's it.
Questions?
Mr. Solis, you mentioned the incentive. For the past, how long have we been doing incentive, not performance, I mean incentive separation in our district? How many years have we been doing that?
Good evening, Mr. Guerra. So I've been a director since 2016. I know we've done it every year, at least since then, except for last year or the previous year.
Thank you.
Mr. Solis, can you explain to me or to us what and how will this help our district financially?
Sure, definitely. By offering this incentive at $2,500, by having employees separate or submit their resignation, one is it would be less employees, obviously, on our payroll for the upcoming year. And as we mentioned in the previous meeting, there's still that $8 million deficit that we're still, or gap that we're still trying to close. So that would help in that instance. Additionally, while it may not be a one-for-one, where, you know, if 100 employees resign, that it would save 100 employees, because it just depends on where those resignations are. It could potentially save some. So that's why we were looking at it, is how can we provide an incentive to help us close that $8 million gap, but also is there a way that we could also potentially save some employees from being, through the reduction in force, losing their jobs through the reduction in force.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Solis, so I mean, typically my first thought would be is like, okay, we've already got, we're in a financially difficult situation. We need to reduce staff, and yet here we are about to consider offering an incentive for people to separate. So, walk me through maybe the logic on why it makes sense to offer a $2,500 incentive. You know, how does that improve?
Sure. So if we were to look at a $2,500 incentive for 100 employees, that amounts to about $256,000. Now, the the amount of employees, if we were to look at it, the average salary would probably be around 71,000, which if we gross it up would be about a 75.
And that's not just salary, right? Is that salary plus benefits?
So
and-
plus benefits would be around 75,000. So the savings would be 75,000 per employee. So we would be investing 2,500 to have a cost savings of 75,000. So it makes the return on investment would be there, in my opinion, to invest to 256,000, and where we could potentially get a net return if there's no rehires of about 7.2 million.
Okay, sounds good. You also said something that's key. So while we're starting with 100, if sometime between now and the deadline, which I believe was April 7th, if we hit the 100 positions a week from now, 2 weeks from now, then you can come back with the proposal, we can reconvene, and we can consider increasing the number of available positions, right? Or separations.
Correct. That would be our intention, is to provide you with a status update during the next board meeting on March 26th, I believe. And at that point, we can make any recommendations, or you can ask us to consider any recommendations to increase that amount.
Okay. And then, Ms. Stiles, I think I heard you say, but I just want to be sure that if someone submitted a resignation or a voluntary separation last week, they could qualify for this as well. The only thing that they would have to do is complete the form. So even though we already have their resignation, they could complete the form, and even if we've already accepted it, they could complete the form and they would qualify for this as well, correct?
As long as they meet that criteria, that's correct.
All
Yes,
right,
sir.
yes, as long as they meet the criteria that you have identified.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions?
So this is for people who are opting to retire.
It's for anybody who plans to separate from the district at the end of the term of their contract. So whatever their last duty day is, they have to work through the end of their contract. But it's not specifically for retirees, it's anybody who's choosing to separate from the district.
Be a resignation as well.
Okay, thank you.
If I'm choosing, if I have planned to move, we've got military families in the district, right? And I know that sometimes, at least in my experience, their orders, they've received them over the summer because they have kids. And so they're able to move their family during the summer. So if me as a teacher, my spouse gets order and we know we're gonna move, I could submit a separation because I know that wherever we go, I'm gonna have to look for a job over there, and yet if I meet the criteria, I still qualify for the
Correct.
incentive, correct?
That's correct.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve?
Second. I have a motion to approve made by Ms. Nahida, seconded by myself. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the item passes. Thank you very much.
Thank
With there
you.
being no further business before this board, we are adjourned at 5:43. Is March 6, 2025.